Have you ever noticed that manipulators always seem to avoid you? Like they try once, fail, and then quietly disappear? Yeah, that's not an accident. And today I'm going to tell you why. Because if you're watching this, there's a very high chance you're one of the rare people who are almost impossible to manipulate. And you might not even realize how powerful that actually is. Psychologists have found that certain people naturally resist manipulation, not because they're cold, aggressive, or suspicious of everyone, but because of how their mind works under pressure. And here's the surprising part. Most of them don't feel strong at all. They often feel misunderstood, or quiet, or different. So let's break this down. 7 psychology-backed traits that make someone nearly immune to manipulation. And the final one is the reason manipulators feel uncomfortable around you. Let's start with number 1. You don't rush emotional decisions. Most manipulation works in moments of urgency. Decide now. Don't think about it. If you loved me, you'd say yes. But you naturally pause. Even if you don't know why, you hesitate. Neuroscience explains this beautifully. Studies on emotional regulation show that people who create even a few seconds of mental space between feeling and reacting activate the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of the brain, instead of the amygdala, which controls fear and impulse. Translation? You don't get hijacked easily. You might even feel slow sometimes, like you're overthinking. But that pause is your shield. Manipulators hate pauses because pauses give you power. Number 2. You notice patterns, not excuses. When someone manipulates, they rely on short-term charm and emotional stories. They want you focused on this moment, this apology, this promise. But you zoom out. You don't just hear what they say. You remember what they said last time, and the time before that, and the way their actions never quite line up. Psychologists call this pattern sensitivity, and research from behavioral psychology shows it's strongly linked to higher emotional intelligence. You might not call people out right away. You might even stay quiet. But inside, something clicks. You start trusting your memory more than their mouth. And once that happens, manipulation loses its grip. Number 3. You're comfortable being disliked. This one is huge. Most people get manipulated because they're afraid of disappointing others, afraid of being seen as mean, afraid of conflict. But you've reached a point, maybe through pain, maybe through growth, where you understand something powerful. Being liked at the cost of your boundaries is not worth it. Studies on assertiveness and self-concept show that people with stable self-esteem are significantly harder to coerce, guilt-trip, or pressure. And here's the twist. You're not rude, you're not aggressive, you're just firm. You can say no without explaining your entire life story. You can disappoint someone and still sleep at night. Manipulators feel that immediately. They sense, oh, this person won't bend, and they move on. Number 4. You trust your discomfort. This is something most people ignore. That weird feeling in your chest, that slight tension in your stomach, that moment where something feels off. You listen to it. Research in psychology shows that intuition is often the brain recognizing subtle inconsistencies faster than conscious thought can explain. So when someone is being fake, controlling, or emotionally manipulative, you might not have the words for it yet, but you feel it. And instead of gaslighting yourself, instead of saying, maybe I'm overreacting, you pay attention. That doesn't mean you panic. It means you stay alert. And manipulators? They rely on people ignoring those signals. You don't. Number 5. You don't overshare with the wrong people. This one surprises a lot of people. Manipulators gather information. They listen closely, not to connect, but to collect. Your fears, your insecurities, your past wounds. But you instinctively pace yourself. You don't pour your soul out to someone just because they asked nicely. You let trust build slowly. Psychologists call this selective vulnerability, and studies show it's a strong predictor of emotional resilience. You're open, but not exposed. And because of that, manipulators don't get the tools they need. They can't push the right buttons because you never gave them the remote. Number 6. You're okay walking away without closure. Oh, this one scares manipulators the most. Most people want explanations, apologies, final conversations. But you've learned something painful and powerful. Not everyone will tell the truth, and not every ending needs a neat bow. Research on attachment styles shows that people who don't chase closure are far less vulnerable to emotional control and intermittent reinforcement, the cycle manipulators use to keep you hooked. You can leave with unanswered questions. You can let silence be the answer. And that ability, it makes you incredibly free. Now here's the twist. Number 7. You don't try to control others. This sounds backwards, but it's the deepest reason you can't be manipulated. You don't need to dominate. You don't need to win. You don't need to bend people to your will. And psychology shows this clearly. People who seek control are often the easiest to control. But you focus on self-control, your reactions, your boundaries, your choices. That inner stability creates something called psychological autonomy, and it's one of the strongest protections against manipulation ever studied. You're not playing games. You're not trying to prove anything. And because of that, manipulators have nothing to hook into. Now, let me say something important. If you're impossible to manipulate, you've probably been called cold, too independent, hard to read, emotionally distant. But here's the truth. You're not cold. You're clear. You're not distant. You're discerning. And you're not hard to read. You just don't perform for approval. That's not a flaw. That's emotional maturity. And yes, it can feel lonely sometimes because manipulators are loud and healthy people are quiet. But the right people, they respect you instantly. They don't try to change you. They don't pressure you. They feel safe around you because you're real. And that is a rare, powerful gift. If this sounds like you, drop a heart emoji in the comments so you know you're not alone. Subscribe if you want more psychology that actually defends you instead of fixing you. And maybe share this with someone who needs to remember how strong they already are.